gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to Gas Masks and Hand Grenades. I'm your host, Jeff. My hair's flying in the breeze here. It's very warm in the gas mask lair, so I've got a fan blowing on me. This is not for rock and roll effect here, John. Just letting you know. Okay.
Sure.
My Fabio thing, but yes, exactly. Welcome, sir. This guy here, well, he's one of these directions here. I believe he's one of these directions. Is Mr. John Gallagher of the legendary UK New Wave of British Heavy Metal Thrash, but they're just kind of their own thing. They are the Raven guys. There you go. You like that? That's a little better than trying to pigeonhole you. Nice to see you, John. We just had a little chat backstage. Good to have you here, sir.
Great to be here, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
Love your intro. Your intro had me fired up.
Did you like that? You like that little
Lots
intro
of bombs
there?
and explosions. Wonderful.
Yes,
Can't go
absolutely.
wrong with that.
I had a fellow Englishman help me put that all together. You probably don't know who he is, but a gentleman named Andrew Lyles. He does very bizarre sort of. He actually works with Nurse with Wound. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, but hopefully he was just working with the footage as opposed to creating it.
He was, I do believe. Yeah. Although with Andrew, you just don't know. He's pretty crazy out there. Love that guy. But John, the reason you're here, we want to talk about this. I don't have a copy as yet because it's not out. But I'm going to share a quick pic here. Let's see if I can figure out remember how to do this. There we go. We're going to pull up. Come on now, Jeff. All right. Can you see that there?
It is there.
That is the new EP that is coming out on Silver Lining Records on February 14th, 2025. A lovely present for your other, I guess, your other. And we have to be careful now these days because it could be one way or the other. But
they're all others, that's for sure.
They're all others.
But it's your St. Valentine's Massacre is what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've got the new EP called Can't Take Away the Fire, and this is kind of in celebration of literally your 50th year, which I guess was last year, correct? Technically speaking.
Yeah, if the stars had aligned, this would have come out in December. But there's always these silly delays with pressing plants and artwork and what have you. But the sentiment is still there. It serves two purposes. Yes, it's our 50th anniversary, which we're very proud of, and it's very humbling.
Yeah.
And secondly, it fills a nice little hole while we're working on the next album. Because we knew there was going to be a delay because Mike Heller, our drummer, we recorded the last album at his studio and he's moved. So he's building a new one and it's taking time. So we're like, well, we don't want to be sitting twiddling our thumbs forever. Let's put something out for the guys and girls out there to whet their appetites for the album. So,
and that's kind of a crazy thing. If I'm not incorrect here, you guys have 15 studio albums?
Yeah, and a bunch of EPs over the year too.
Yeah. I mean, there are some bands, we won't mention any names, Tool, who put out like 6 albums in 20 years. So it's kind of amazing. Well, first of all, let's back up. Did you ever envision when you and your brother John started, or I'm sorry, Mark started this, did you ever envision that you'd be doing this into your mid-60s at this point?
No, but if anyone had asked me at the time, would you like to? And I would have said, absolutely. No, you don't. No one has that kind of vision. I mean, to me, those, where do you see yourselves in 5 years' time and all that?
Sure.
I don't freaking know.
Alive, hopefully.
I don't have a freaking life planner written on the wall with it all on. a lot of this is on the fly.
Right, right.
We follow our muse. We've had our ups, we've had our downs, but one thing we've always done is stuck to our guns and worked hard. And we're in the curious position of being that, bunch of old frickin' bastards who are the legacy band.
Right.
But we make new music and play it and tour on it and people buy it. Where there's a lot of bands have literally given up on that and they're just like, well, we're not doing new music. Nobody's interested, blah, blah, blah. That's, to me, it'd be like cutting my left arm off or something.
It's just something you were born to
Yeah,
do.
and it, there was a period, probably about 5-6 years ago at this point, where it was, you'd bring an album out and people would be, it's really cool, like I love the first three albums, but this is cool. It's like, now I want to have people saying, I love the first three albums, but this is as cool. And that's a tough thing to go up against yourself.
Yes.
With the benefit of hindsight, and when I was going out with my first girlfriend, I was listening to your All for One album or something, and it's imprinted on people.
Right.
We've all got that, like I
Sure.
hear whatever a Uriah Heep song or Zeppelin, and I'm right back there as a kid. We've all
Yeah.
got that, and to compete against that is very difficult, but it can be done.
Yeah, the battle of nostalgia is a tough one because
Yeah,
especially as you start nearing the end.
I
When you're
mean,
in the middle and you're at the beginning, it's a different sort of trip. But
yeah,
because, it's funny now. We were just having this conversation over the weekend. I went down to see a friend of mine's band playing in Philadelphia. I'm in the Pennsylvania, Baltimore, Philly area. And we were kind of laughing about that nostalgia thing where it's like, oh Jesus, it's 10:30, man, I'm usually in bed by now, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Whereas, when you're in your 20s, you're not going to bed till 6 a.m. in the morning, right? But
no, you're pulling an all nighter and going straight to work afterwards. That kind of.
exactly, and I did a lot of those, and I'm sure you have too. But
You know what they say, nostalgia ain't what it used to be.
yeah. I think it's an interesting thing because especially for guys like us that are longer in the tooth here, we can really appreciate how different it was then, and how the kind of the the metal lifestyle, the whole kind of aura of everything of being a musician and touring the world and everything. It was very different back then to obviously to what it is today. And do you like, you've been there and done it like consistently for 50 years. Do you look back on those days with kind of the rose colored glasses, or do you also look back and go, man, there was some really shitty times back then too?
Oh, yeah, there's nothing rose colored about it. I mean, there's the good times and the bad times, just like anyone's life. I mean, if you look back, it's like, why the hell did we do this? Or, oh my God, how did we get past this? These things happen, and you're not trained for this. I mean, you learn how to play your instruments and perform and put on a good show, but then all of a sudden you're expected to be an accountant and a
A
life
small
plan and all
businessman,
the
right?
rest of it,
Yeah.
and all you can do is the best you can.
When you
And
look back,
you put your trust in people, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
well, let's go back in history a little bit because you guys started in '74. Um, and it wasn't until I guess you were kind of building a groundswell through the '70s into the latter part of the '70s, and then you got kind of hooked up with Megaforce with John Zazula. And was things starting to happen before that hookup, or were
Oh
they
yeah.
starting? Okay.
Well, that's how that happened. I mean, we were a four-piece right until 79. So when that changed, it changed a lot of things. We got Rob Hunter in on drums, and all of a sudden, as a three-piece, it was we were off to the races. I had so much more real estate to play and to fill.
Right.
So did Rob, so did Mark. Mark blossomed as a guitar player literally overnight. And we started, we were playing the clubs and the pubs. A guy from Neat Records, which was a local label, tiny label in Newcastle, geographically we're in the northeast of England,
Right.
like about 24,000 light years away from the music business, which is in London.
Right. Right.
And no one in London would go further than 50 miles out of London because they thought it was all full of people dressed like Mel Gibson in Braveheart.
So it was anything above Birmingham, forget it.
No,
Right?
no. Birmingham was still barbarians. Anything
Okay,
north of Watford Gap, forget about it.
Okay.
So it was all centered there. And we kind of turned things upside down because Neat Records, we put out the single Don't Need Your Money, and it got really well received. This DJ, John Peel, on Radio 1, had a show where he played new music, played our single, and Ozzy heard it. I want those guys on tour with me.
Wow.
And, so you have a combination of things like that happening, and all of a sudden, your trajectory is boom, you're heading straight up.
Was this
so many cool things happened like that back then. And that's how we got the attention of John Zazula, because John had an import record store in Jersey and was selling loads and loads of copies of our first album and then our second album, and got in touch and said, how would you guys like to come over and play a couple of shows? And then because he had that, and he had, he was taking Metallica on board, he started a label. So Megaforce licensed our third album, All for One. Right. And it went from there, yeah.
Now, when you opened for Ozzy, was that the first Blizzard of Oz album?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was, Ozzy, Randy, Bob, and Lee.
Wow. How about that? That's incredible. I didn't actually know that. That's amazing. What was that like? Because that was Ozzy was just blew up, especially in the States. That was just in Europe though, right? Or in the UK?
That was in the UK.
Okay.
We did 4 dates in the UK. We did our hometown, Newcastle. We did Sunderland down the road, Middlesbrough, a little further down, and then London.
What size venues was he playing on that tour?
The typical UK tour thing, basically theaters, 2,000, 3,000.
Okay.
That was the circuit. It didn't matter who you were, that was the circuit. That's why we were so lucky as kids when we went to see bands. So bands that would be playing coliseums in the States would be playing 2,000 seat venues in England, because that's all there was. Outside of London, that's all there was. So that was phenomenal. You're at the back of the hall and you got a better seat than 90% of anyone at a coliseum. So that's where that was our education, watching all the bands that came by,
When you then got hooked up with John, and you put out All for One, that was kind of and like you talked about the nostalgia thing, you're always kind of fighting that a little bit, which I think I hate to use the word legacy, but when you make it more than 10 years, you're kind of a legacy band anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in rock and roll.
You got to have a history to have a history.
Exactly. Yeah, right. When you guys came over then, was that the tour that you did with Metallica then? Was for that album, right?
No, that was the tour that Metallica did with us.
Or they did with you. They opened for you, right? Yeah. They opened for you guys. That's right. Yeah.
That was our first US tour, and that was their first tour of any description, yeah.
Do you have any anecdotes or stories from that time that you haven't told a million times?
I've told them a million times, but we like the guys. We initially, we need an opening band, and then John says, "I've got the biggest band out of San Francisco to open for you." And we're like, "Nah, there's like a million bands in San Francisco that everyone's heard of. Laundry List, Y&T, Sammy Hagar. Come on, no,
right?
No, it's Metallica. Who? Never heard of them." we got the cassettes, the No Life to Leather thing, right? And it was
Right.
like, is this at the right speed? It sounded like Motorhead if you put an album on at the 78 speed,
Yeah,
So,
right. Yeah, yeah.
like, these guys will be great. This will be perfect. So we met up with them, and yes, they were. They were, about 4 or 5 years younger, which back then's a big difference. So we were like the old pros at that point, and they weren't. We were the ones having to drag them out of bed in the morning so we could get on the road to get to the next
Right.
show and stuff
They
like
were
that.
kids. I mean, they were kids, man.
Oh yeah, literally. But kindred spirits. They were like a gang. We were like a gang.
Mm-hmm.
So you know. And the other question I always get asked a million times is, could you have foreseen then what they have become now? And of course not.
Yeah.
No, nobody could.
Oh, it's the same thing you said. Like, you don't have a life planner hanging on the wall. They
Nah,
didn't either. And I mean,
and like I said, to be fair, they learned a lot from us. They learned a lot from every other band they played with back then, and they changed. They changed on the second album, and by the
sure,
second album, you could see there was more depth in what they were doing, and
sure.
they followed a different path. And
Do you still stay in
look where they
contact?
ended up.
Do you
What's
stay in
that?
contact with the guys? Have you been
Uh,
in contact over the
we've
years?
been like off and on the last
Right.
few years. We actually sat down with James 2 years ago at Metallica HQ and had a long talk about
Wow.
that tour. And he gave us the grand tour of the place, and it was fantastic. It was really cool. And
Yeah.
then we did that show with them in Fort Lauderdale, the tribute to John and Marcia Zazula.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And we opened on that. That was like what, November
4 years.
6th or something, 2022.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Fantastic, and we got to hang out with them, all the guys along a lot there. It was great.
I bet that was awesome. Yeah. Um, so, the way that I came to know of you guys, now I said I only just got to see you for the first time last year in April. And it wasn't necessarily because I'm not a fan. It was just because life, it just happened that way that I
It
never knew.
happens,
Yeah,
and when you get older, life happens a lot more, and it's just like, it's a show on a Wednesday, and I've got the boss on my ass.
yeah,
Don't think I want to walk in all hungover and freaked out and stuff. And
exactly. Yeah.
then it's like maybe next time, and then maybe next time. And all of a sudden, 5 or 6 years go by.
Exactly. You've got the drill, but the reason I recall you guys so much, other than All for One, is that you guys were pretty much staples in Kerrang magazine, and I was a religious Kerrang guy. Being in the States, it was an import magazine. So I was trying to rack my brain to remember how much I paid. I want to say it was like $3.50 a copy back in the late 80s. So we're talking 84, 85. My senior year in high school is 84, 83, 84. And I'm a prog dude and also a metal dude. But I remember you guys and Marillion were like always plastered all over Kerrang in those early 80s years for some strange reason. I was a big fan of Marillion. But the thing that always stuck out to me was, and this would have been the era when Rob was with you, was the football helmet thing, or the helmet thing that he wore. It was always like, I'm like, okay, these guys can't be serious, right? They're, you know what I mean? Like, this is so not metal, because around that time, a little later, you got the guys coming out in the corpse paint when the death metal and the black metal started to happen. You guys always seemed to have a real sense of humor about what you were doing, and that really came through when I saw you guys play last year. You just were having a fucking blast up there, and I'm like, and you got me by a couple of years, and I'm thinking, man, I can barely stand anymore. I just want to go home, lay down, and go to sleep. Like, what? How do you find that? Is it the music that keeps you energized like this, or
Yeah,
you just a very
it's it's the music, and that's our attitude.
sure?
We watch these, like when I said when we were a kid, the first show we ever saw was Slade, and the opening band was the sensational Alex Harvey band.
Yep.
Now, if you see them two, you're ruined for life. and they reach out. It's like having 3D TV, and they reach out and they grab you by the short and curlies and pull you back.
Sure.
And master showman. And you're left with a smile ear to ear that was, printed on your face for weeks after the show.
Right.
And there were bands like that. And there were also bands that you would watch and they would make you feel miserable. I'd be like, all right, big deal. Not
Right.
interested,
Right.
So that was always, it went in the bank and gained interest. It's like you're up there on stage, entertain the people and have a good time, have fun.
Yeah. It's
And
always about positive energy.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, and unfortunately with a lot of metal and a lot of bands, there's a lot of negative energy.
Sure.
And, like if you see a band and everything's great, and then maybe the guy's chord breaks on the guitar and the guitar goes off, and he has a temper fit, like that thing that happened with Jane's Addiction just a
Oh,
while back,
Jesus.
right?
Yeah. What a
Stuff like
mess.
that.
What a mess.
There's no better way to kill the vibe completely than to have that. It's the worst feeling, and it's very difficult to gain it back from that. So you learn. It's just like, everyone can get pissed or get mad if something goes wrong, but you gotta laugh it off. It's just like, eh. And like the old story of the ballerina that falls down. It's not the falling down; it's what you do when you get back up.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
So
Now
sometimes these things make the greatest gigs when you have something go totally wrong. You can pull something out of the hat and make it work.
Well, the funniest part about that show was, so it was you guys were headlining, and then you had direct support was Vicious Rumors, and then the opening band was a band called Wicked, I think. Was it
Wicked, yeah.
Wicked? Yeah, and those guys matched you guys for the upbeat intensity. I mean, there was more bleach blonde hair dye in that on that stage than I've ever seen since probably 1982 with Vince Neil. But it was like they were super up and upbeat as well too. And they were loving the fact that they were out with you guys and having a great time.
Absolutely. It was great having those guys in, and it's kindred spirits. You can see the joy they get out of playing live, and that's what we want. We want a good bill. We want good bands who kick ass and have a good time, and it makes us play better. And then who wins? The audience. It's great.
Sure.
Perfect.
How did you get aligned with Silver Lining? Is this your first release with them now?
No, the last album, All Hell's Breaking Loose, which
Okay, that was on them. Okay.
That's the first album with Silver Lining. We just wanted a label that had a bit more coverage in some of the areas, like the States, for example. And they got a great track record. They got some legacy bands. They've got Saxon. They got Uriah Heep. I believe they had Diamond Head.
Mm-hmm.
But they're young people with a good attitude and they love the music. Yeah.
So all good so far, huh? All good
so far. So good. They, whatever we're asking for, they're pulling it out of the hat for us. So yeah, they do a great job.
Now, what kind of plans or what's in store here? You say you're working on a new album and like a full length, okay?
Yeah.
Over because this actually, let's talk about the EP again here. Let's go back to it. Now I'm having some issues. Let me see if I can share that again. Oh, where did it go there? That. Oh, I lost it. Darn it. Okay, I'll pull that up in a minute here. But the one track that really stood out to me was the Wreckage. Very kind of almost a doomy metal song in a weird way. Very much slower pace than what you guys are kind of known for. Your upbeat sort of, thrashy meets new wave of British heavy metal, but it's really raven music because it's kind of your own vibe. But that song was interesting. Tell me a little bit about that one.
Yeah, it's something I came up with. It actually came from me screwing around doing something like this, going.
Nice.
And that's the chorus.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I like that.
But it's super heavy on
Right.
because we broke out those parts and played them differently, and all of a sudden you've got something that's orchestral, So that happens sometimes. I'll do something that's classically sounding or whatever, and say, this sounds kind of bluesy. And the guy said, okay, let's run it up the flagpole, let's see where it goes. And it was just perfect for the CP. I mean, we had the song idea for the last album. It's just like, it doesn't fit. That 10 songs, 35, 40 minutes, beat you to death. That's what we want. You don't want to end on this song. It's not the right vibe. But putting it in with this works perfect. And you've got such a contrast between the wreckage and then say something like Black and Blue.
Yeah.
Which is probably one of the more intense things we've ever done.
Yeah, that's more
like
of a typical
acid in the face,
Right. The other track that really jumped at me too was the title track, which really has a real, raveny vibe to it. It's a very shout along, sing along sort of chorus, which works well for you guys. Do you find at this stage of the game, are you always writing? Are you always playing? Does it become a chore ever for? As you can see,
I'm very lucky at the moment that for me, whenever I'm picking up a guitar, I'm coming up with an idea. So I'm recording them, and it's the period now when we start finally going, okay, enough, reflect back, let's start listening to all the stuff we've done. And I'm starting that, and Mark's going to be coming by like next week, and we'll do a little more of that together. Passing ideas.
Do all of you guys write, or do you write individually?
Mike actually started playing guitar and came up with riffs for Turn of the Screw off the last album. They were basically his riffs, which is fantastic. So, the more the merrier. We never have any difficulty writing songs. We have difficulty deciding on which ones we're going to do because, you can only do so many. But that's why it was nice to get these songs recorded and out as opposed to sitting on the shelf. It's like this whole thing that's been happening over the last 10, 15 years of a band, doing an album and then waiting 3, 4, 5 years before the next one. We write way too much for that, and it's very painful to do it that way,
You mentioned that your drummer has a studio that you recorded, I guess, the last album out. Now, you're a guy that's been around a long time, so you've been into the I heard a story about the Neat studio was kind of held together with duct tape and was, this is back in the 70s here, was really
and chewing gum.
And chewing gum, bare bones, right? And
oh yeah.
But then you also got to record in bigger, more professional studios with some big names like Michael Wagner, and I think All for One was done in Germany, right? Is that right?
No, All for One was done in London.
Was the producer German?
As far as things go, it wasn't the flashiest studio, but it was a huge step up from the Neat studios. And we did the Packers back at Bearsville, which was one of the biggest studios in the country, which isn't a studio anymore now, of course. But that place was was about as big as a football field, for God's sake, inside of it. It was
Bearsville in New York?
Yeah.
Oh wow, no kidding. How many albums did you record in the States? Is that the only one, or was there a couple?
Probably everything from Stay Hard onwards, with the exception of Architect of Fear was recorded in Germany. And everything else has been done in the States.
And you did it over, I would imagine you did some of those out in LA, I would assume, right?
Well, we did the only album we've done in LA was the last one. Because Mike was living in LA, had his studio there. So he recorded and engineered the whole thing, and it was just the three of us in there doing it.
Wow.
And we had this great guy who works with us called Lassie Lammert, who's got the killer ears, and he did the mix. He's a German fella. Fantastic. But it made things so much easier just having it, just the three of us, it was good.
Yeah. Um, Now there was a time though, and maybe it was about 10 years ago or so, that your brother had a pretty bad accident, right?
It's actually 20.
Oh, was that long ago?
Ooh, it'll be coming up later in the year for 24 years.
Wow, that long. Okay, so when that happened, the band was kind of dormant for a little while. How'd you guys work around that? I mean, did you ever think that Mark was going to be able to come back from that, or?
Well, for a small period of time, we didn't know whether he'd survive it. And then we didn't know whether he'd walk again or, because they wanted to take his left leg off. So basically he just said, I'll get well. Just write. Go ahead and write. So we wrote. And in about 2.5 years, he was well enough to do a short run with him in a wheelchair.
Right.
And there's a few videos up from that. And that was strange, but it was good. And it was good for his head, And by 2005, he'd got a leg brace and was able to stand up. And then we did a few festivals. We did a festival in Tampa, and then we did a festival in Germany, Keep It True, and we did Bloodstock in England. And, he just went from strength to strength. I mean, 17 breaks in his ankles, one calf ripped off, the other calf a piece of rebar all the way through it, both his feet turned the wrong way around, scars, drag marks, terrible.
Wow.
And
I wouldn't have.
he's still dealing with it. He's going in for an operation ending next month. He'll be getting a new ankle.
What, new screws and all that hardware and
Oh, the
stuff?
full 9 yards, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
As he described it, it's like an office chair when you take the wheel off. They'll take the old one on and they'll hammer a new one in.
Oh, that's horrible to hear, but I'm dealing with a hip issue right now because I was a soccer footballer, and man, it's I don't want to go that route if I can avoid it. Not
No,
not
well,
a
it's
pleasant idea.
anything when you get below the knee. There's so much pressure from the
Yeah.
weight of your body on that. So, when you do the knee or the hip, they get you up walking around immediately. But with
Yeah.
this, they can't. Otherwise, because it'll just split open.
Sure.
So he's going to have a good 8 weeks before he's able to really put weight on it. But he's been to worse places, so I have faith in him. He'll manage.
I wouldn't have even known, quite frankly. I didn't even realize he had an accident until I watched
You
it.
wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. He's
I mean,
got
he was
more
walking
energy
around.
and runs around more than anyone.
Yeah.
It's not to say he's not in a lot of pain, and not to say there's been times I'll come off stage and he's lying on the floor in the fetal position.
Mm.
And he just never complains. He just gets up and does it.
Are you guys the same age?
I'm about 18 months older.
Okay, so you're a little bit older then. Okay.
Yeah.
What's on tap then for to now? I mentioned you're working on the album. Are you going to finish the album and put that out first before you do any major touring, or is there?
No,
I know
we're going
you
to
got
do
one
some,
date. You're
we're
coming
going
to
to do
Hell's
some
Hero,
stuff where we've got Hell's Heroes coming
right?
up in Houston on March 20th, which is going to be fantastic.
I'm hoping to be there. We'll
That'll
see.
be fun.
Yeah.
That's a killer one. I'm seeing the comments here. They're very cool. Thank you, Tim. That's very,
Yeah.
very.
He's become a real metal man, hard as iron. There we go. Yeah.
So yeah, we got Hell's Heroes, and then we'll be getting together and doing some. Well, he'll be doing his operation, so we'll be just bouncing ideas around. I'll be bugging him with a guitar. We've got dates booked in Europe for September.
Okay.
We got a tour booked then. Depending on how Mike's studio comes on, we'll either tour the States after that, or it'll be early in 26. Because at that point, if it drags out that long, then we'll wait till the record comes out and go with that, because you kind of have to have that double-edged thing going on.
What do you have favorite places you like to play? Do you enjoy playing the States?
I love playing on a stage. A stage
anywhere.
is real good. I hate playing in the bathroom. That's never any good.
That's an interesting thing. I mean, that could go many different directions. But
there again, there are always some of these places that they think it's a stage, and they have a strange idea of what a stage is. I mean, in a sense, if there's a stage, we'll play. We love playing clubs. We love playing festivals. We love playing theaters. They're all slightly different. You have to tailor what you do very slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the bigger the room, you can be a little more grandiose. You have to be a little more whoa, try and fill up that space. But you'll notice when you see a lot of bands play, and you'll see video of them, and it's like the guys at front playing, and you see the drummer like in the next state behind. That doesn't happen. There has to be that continuity of like wherever we play, I know where Mark is, I know where Mike is, and we're not like,
exactly.
Getting a freaking GPS to find out where everybody is to start the next song.
What was the first big outdoor festival that you played? Was it like Donington or something like that, or do you remember?
Well, there's two stories of that. The first outdoor gig we ever played was a field in Wreckington, which is south of Newcastle, for the Hells Angels.
The actual Hells Angels. The motorcycle club.
Yeah. You ever seen the Tommy movie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those guys. Those exact guys.
Okay. Wow.
So when it was pissing down with rain and they made us play Born to Be Wild for the 5th time, Mark throws his arms up, lands on the floor and starts wriggling. And they're like, play Born to Be Wild. We're like, no, he's just had a freaking electric shock. Piss off, go away. We get them, we pick him up, we take him to the van, he starts giggling, he says, let's get the F out of here now.
Yeah. That was his exit. That was your exit.
That was our first outdoor gig, probably.
Okay.
That would be Wrexham, which is in England next to Wales, so down in the middle, off to the west, with Motorhead and Twisted Sister.
Wow.
In 1982.
Wow.
And we played, like the Aardchock Festival. So, 3,000-4,000. But we didn't really play one of these, Wacken style festivals until probably we played Wacken. We played one of the early Wackens in 97.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't get to do Donington? You never got invited for Donington or whatever they call it now? I don't even know what they call it.
Download. It's called Download now.
Download, yeah.
It's, a lot of these things are very political. You got to be a card-carrying member of Live Nation or some nonsense,
Yeah. Ugh, don't even mention that name. Ugh.
Well, that's why you see these festivals over here where 90% of the bands are the same bands, and it's bands you wouldn't cross the street to see.
They're all tied in with the political group.
Of course. Yeah. It's like as part of your 360 deal where you've given your left arm and your second daughter to be phased in by 2027, you'll be playing this festival.
Yeah, crazy.
So it's all that quasi new metal. You know the names. I don't need to say them.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is why Hell's Heroes is such a breath of fresh air, because it's real bands.
Cool. I'm friends with Christian, the guy that Baca, and in fact,
that guy's doing the Lord's work.
He really is.
The Lord's work.
He's got a really great mix, and in fact, Crimson Glory, the band Crimson Glory, are buddies of mine, and I kind of got those two connected, and then they ended up being, signing on to do it. Have other friends. Actually, one of my friends' bands just had to cancel because he's got some medical issues in the family. Crypt Sermon, so that's a bummer. But I'm hoping to get down to see that because there's some unique bands there that, for example, the band Fifth Angel, which was a Seattle sort of Queensryche late '80s, mid to late '80s metal traditional metal band. This is only their second time they've ever played the States.
Oh, wow.
Last time was back in Prague Power. They never
Wow.
did a proper U.S. tour, which is crazy when I think about that stuff. And you guys have been over here, many, many, many times. Is there a particular tour that you recall? We'll throw the Metallica Open up for you, but was there a particular tour that you guys did that you look back real fondly on and think, man, that's hard to believe we did that tour? Or are they all kind of like that generally? Or maybe they're not.
They are. We always make the best of whatever's going on. I mean, the tour we did with Wasp and Slayer was great, but the weather was dreadful. It was right in the middle of winter. I think we played one show at the Mid Hudson Civic Center where there's probably about 100 people because nobody could get there. It was like,
Yeah.
4 foot of snow or something.
Yeah.
So, those things make it difficult. But, we're lucky. We're the most lucky people there are because, we have the opportunity to do this. And we've
Yeah.
always known that. It's just now, because we're old bastards, that we appreciate it 100 times more.
That's a good thing. That with age comes the acceptance of the inevitable, but it also makes you really look back and think about how grateful you should be for some of the really good
Oh
things.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but tempered with that is a responsibility. This is what we do. We don't do that. We do this, and we try to do that, and quite often we succeed.
Yeah.
So the live show is, to me, better than it ever has been. We put more energy into it. We're playing better. We've got great songs. We've got great new material. It's all great. It's all gravy. It's wonderful.
All right, so I have to last thing we'll exit on this. I have to ask you about your voice. It's a very unique voice. You're able to do something that, one of my favorite band of all times is Rush. And Getty had that.
Cake. What will take?
There you go.
What's the something to eat?
All that.
Yeah, so you've got that falsetto that you're well known for. I mean, you don't just.
It's not falsetto.
Okay.
This is falsetto. That's falsetto. What I do is head voice. It's very strong, and it's right up there. But and then I sing the normal singing, as it were. It's from my diaphragm. It's big and loud. So I can do a lot of stuff, and I take care of myself so I can do all the stuff I ever did, and I can do a lot more now because I've had more experience. So.
Well, okay, so were you ever a smoker?
Never.
Never a smoker. Man,
never drink either.
You don't drink it? You've never drank?
No.
Now I know why you guys are how you are. That is, I mean, no joke. That's amazing. That you've done that and kept yourself clean in this business in particular. I mean, that.
Who wants to go on stage and be sloppy? I mean, you see these guys that they've had many beers before they go on, and they're like, "Yeah, man, I'm killing it tonight," and everyone's watching them like, "Oh God, what happened to him?" No, would never want to be that. Never smoked, never drank, never did any of the funny stuff.
Wow.
So as long as I,
that's amazing.
Get my 40 winks in, and there's no colds and flus flowing around, I'm good. I'm real good. I mean, we consistently do 15, 16, 17 shows on the trot. That last tour we did in the States was 42 dates, and it was in like about 46 days.
Yes, it was insane. It was almost a gig a night.
3 travel days. There was no days off. They're just travel days. So,
and that's stunning, man. I mean, for guys in their 60s to do that, you have to be healthy dudes. There's no way.
Oh yeah, you couldn't do it otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think I could. I mean, I do drink, but I don't drink a lot. I don't smoke cigarettes. Haven't done that in a long time. I might smoke some other stuff occasionally, but I don't do it regular. It's not like a regular. Yeah, I wonder what I'm talking about there.
I know. Turn in your Brit card. Tim's saying no drinking.
Tim,
where I come from in Newcastle, drinking, especially when I was a kid, was a religion.
I was going to say it's a sport there for sure,
Yeah.
right?
Everyone I knew would go out maybe 4 or 5 times a week and drink 10 pints. Now I'm talking English pints.
Yeah,
not
right.
American pints. So this is like quarts.
Yes, a lot of alcohol.
8 to 10 quarts of beer. Which is why now, when you go back, all the people I went out with back then, all my mates, they're all freaking bald.
Well, they're either bald or they have diabetes.
I think the beer gives them male pattern baldness.
How? So I have to ask, John, how did you avoid that? Like, have you ever thought about that? It was just
I had no interest.
Like,
I saw people acting stupid and starting fights, and it's just like I didn't particularly like the taste. I mean, I can drink a beer and go, that's a good beer, or that sucks. But I have no interest in drinking them until I start a fight or something.
Okay, yeah.
And I'd people I knew, I'd see them, be like the life and soul of the party. And then they'd get a little bit like this. And then it'd be like, who you looking at?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
And then it would happen to me. I'd be out on the street and somebody punched me in the face. Was on a bus once between 2 guys. Oh, you think you're clever with your long hair, do you? Boom, put my nose out, So,
yeah.
Newcastle could be pretty violent.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure it was. The old days of the punters there. Yeah, that's crazy. Tim had a question here for you. Will Raven ever reintroduce horns into any future songs? The bottom line used the horns quite tastefully. Probably my favorite song off Stay Hard.
It was such fun to do that because, the tune and a lot of our songs, actually, if you look at it through the mindset of big band, would fit perfectly. Imagine a big band treatment of like Hell Patrol, or that would be hilarious and perfect.
Yeah. How
so
those get in?
Boom, boom, boom. It's all the chops and change and the pumps and the little stops and starts. So we'd done the track for the bottom line. And we were just going, and going, clowning around. And the engineer, Alex Perialis, said, hey, I know a horn section if you guys want it. We're like, bring it on. Let's do it. Just spur of the moment, fitted perfectly, And we dabbled with it on the next album. It was okay, but it's really good on the bottom line. So never say never, You never know.
What kind of gear do you use? I know you got a V there, and what was interesting about that was the red V in particular behind you there was you have a trem system on there too. I noticed.
Oh yeah, I've got about 5 basses with trems. Yeah, I've got.
What's your main stuff that you use live?
I've got a clone that I'm playing of my Red Explorer. The Red Explorer is actually in the back there. And pull it out. Which, nobody made a trem. I bugged a guy at the local music store, the tech. Can you make a bass trem? Yeah, I can do that. And he did, and it's the best. It's the best ever, So I use that. So like I say, I have a clone of it, and I have in this case here, I got to pull them out. Rickenbacker, it's a Hondo copy, but I've stripped everything off it. New tuners, new pickups, new controls. It's the wood and the paint. That's it. And a trem on that. I have a very cool little Explorer here. I'll show you. Whoa! That's my headphones.
Uh-oh.
They're gone. Yeah, here's a nice little one.
Oh, look at that one. Yeah. Is that the 8-string?
No, I've got an 8-string there too. I'm going to let you see that. Very cool.
Wow, that's a really nice Explorer there, man.
During the pandemic, I was building a lot of guitars. I built some Flying V's for my brother, which turned out great. The Flying V for me. And
look at that. Look at that.
That's an Iceman.
Iceman, yeah.
But I turned it into an 8-string.
Now, is that an actual Iceman body then, or did you have that?
It's an actual Iceman bass, a 4-string that I
turned. Okay.
I turned it into an 8-string.
Now, how'd you do that?
I blocked off all the holes, plotted out where they were supposed to go for the new ones. I got an 8-string bridge, and
Wow, that's
there we
crazy
go.
cool. That's crazy cool. I love it. Love it.
That's fantastic.
I just got that Friday actually. I just picked up a destroyer.
That's beautiful. Nice one.
2002, one of the last Fuji gens from the original Ibanez plant. It's weird. I hadn't been in that Guitar Center in over a year. The last time I was in that Guitar Center, I think I spent about $6,000. This time I walked in and I bought a whole bunch of guitars. I bought high-end stuff. But I typically don't go there for that very reason, because I'm almost always going to walk in there and go, oh man, you're kidding me. But I walked in to look at Strat bodies and like a Strat, I was looking at Jackson. I was playing a couple different things, and the manager came out and he saw me, and he's known me for years. He's like, dude, did they tell you about what just came in here an hour ago? I'm like, no. And I had just played a Jackson. I don't even know what, it's a newer model Jackson, like Super Strat. Hated it. Didn't like the neck at all. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna fly. And he goes, let me go get this. Hang on, I think you're gonna like this. And he walks out with that. I'm like, you son of a bitch, man. I'm like, you will never believe this, but I was just looking on Reverb at Destroyers. I'm like, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna hate it. That the next morning. Next morning I went down. I said, all right, let's figure this out.
Let's do the deal.
Let's do the deal.
No, yeah, that's why I started building. It was partly because of the pandemic. It was like, what the hell am I going to do? So we went to Home Depot and we got some plywood, and I made 3 flying V's for my brother. A white one, which he's never played out, a black one, which is currently over at my girlfriend's in England, and a red one, which is in pieces in the corner. I got to put that together and, make sure it works. And they sound amazing.
No kidding. Wow.
I mean, ding.
So you have a router and woodworking tools to cut the bodies and all that stuff like that. Wow, no kidding.
Yeah. So we just cut the headstock. It's got this crazy zigzag thing. It was an old ESP design. We stole that and put that on it, and basically, a telly hot rails pickup. Speed loader Floyd, just locks at the top, doesn't lock on the bridge. They're fantastic, so much quicker, and you can beat the crap out of them, but they sound amazing. This is what he played most of the leads on the last album and on the EP. And I also built them. Yeah, I built them a telly, which is all the rhythm guitar sounds of the last album and this EP. It's a telly with a Evertune.
Jeez.
This Evertune bridge is like an amazing thing.
Yeah, they never go out of tune, yeah.
The pain in the ass to set up, but once it's set,
yes,
you don't go out of tune.
So you've used those quite a bit, the Evertunes? Have you tried them a lot? Or
Oh yeah, that's Mark's first guitar when he goes out, because you've got that confidence that you're not walking into a nightmare. It's like it's one less thing to worry about. And then you can ease into using something else afterwards.
What good. Tuning do you guys typically play in? E or E flat or standard? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right if you tune down. It doesn't sound right. Well, you can get away with E flat. Once it starts getting into D and all this other stuff, it just sounds like slop.
I think it depends on the music. If you're going for the more the more deathy, the more super crushingly heavy stuff, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to play Sabbath covers and you want to play them in E flat or D or C sharp, at the end of the day, it's still going to sound like Sabbath.
Yeah.
But say you're going to play AC/DC.
No.
No, it just doesn't ring.
Nope.
Doesn't ring the same way. Yeah.
Well, hey, the
other thing I love when the bands are playing tuned in C sharp and they do these little quiet passages, and the guitar sounds like a banjo.
Yeah, because you're getting all the ringing from the strings. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no real, the timbre is completely off and it doesn't ring right. If they love it, great. But Yeah, we go for the 440. I mean, I did a project. This guy Alex has a band called Helm's Deep, a project, and I've done the
Oh, I know
bass
Helm's Deep.
on the first one. I did the bass on the next one, which will be coming out soon.
Hmm.
And he's crazy because he's just like, okay, this one's in E flat at 432. I'm like,
So
why?
oh, meaning it's just a little bit off 440.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
why? Well, that's that whole, the golden mean, and it sounds, it goes better with the stars or
yeah,
your
that's a little too.
astrological chart.
That's a little out there. I do have one in D standard. That one's in E. I have my Cadillac over here, which you can't really. Well, you can kind of see, but up. So I got
Right. The Dean,
I,
yeah.
yeah, I got
Very
a
cool.
Spectre Legend 4 up there, and then
Oh, I got a nice Spectre for you.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love Spectre basses, man.
This one.
Ooh. Now, is that a real Spectre, or did you make that one too?
It's a real Spectre. However,
oh, look at that. You went and did that to it.
I did that to it.
Holy hell, man. That's pretty insane. That's really cool. Is that an 8.2 or a 6?
That's an 8.
That's an 8. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, now that's interesting. When you first started playing, John, you played 4s, I'm guessing, right? When did you jump into like multi strings, like an 8?
First album.
The very first album?
Yeah. Tyrant of the Airways.
I didn't know
I would play it on the 8 string. You can't hear it, but the part
didn't
in the
even know
middle
they
that
made.
goes, that's picking with chorus and echo on an 8 string.
Wow. How about
So
that?
that song has 8 string, and For the Future has 8 string. The Sweet Numbers, the covers, that's an 8 string. So yeah, I had the second Ibanez Musician 8 string in England after Sting. And then I had, I think, the first Kramer XL8, because we had a great store in Newcastle that would get all the cool stuff. He says, oh, you like that bass? I say, it's hard to handle. Well, we got a new one coming in. You're going to want to trade that. And I did.
Nice. That's interesting. I mean, up until the last, I'd say 15 or maybe 20 years, you just didn't see many bass players playing with multi strings. Like the guy I knew that did that was Doug Pinnick from King's X, would play at 12, and it gives it a definitely different sound. It's a much cooler sound usually.
But it's great for a 3-piece because it sounds like I think it's usually described as a bulldozer eating cars.
Yeah.
If you run it through a dirty amp, it sounds phenomenal. But I found out, if you do it clean, you get that wonderful, the and of course the harmonics sound wonderful
harmonics, on it. Yeah.
So
that's super cool.
Just a whole different color, It's cool.
What do you use bass amp wise? What's your typical thing?
My sound comes off effects. It's a guitar effects unit. I've used everything at some point, and I can get what I want out of just about everything. I'm using a Boss GX100. It's not the top of the line. It's not the smallest, but it does everything I need it. It's got a great dirty sound, great crazy dirty sound, lots of insane effects. And you can blend them and do all kinds of crazy nonsense. Sure. There's 2 paths, and so I go into a clean amp. I mean, my rig here, it's PV. It's a PV headline, like an 800 watt amp with an 810. And when we do fly dates, I'll end up with either Gallion Kruger or Ampeg with the 810s.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember do you remember what you had on that? Do you generally, when you're doing like that kind of, when you were doing the tour last year, Were you carrying backline that you got over here then?
No, that was all backline. We live in the States.
Oh, you live in the States?
Oh, I've lived in the States since '84.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. Where you live? Where you live at?
I'm in Florida.
Oh fuck, I had no idea you were here. How about
Yeah.
that? I thought you were over in the UK. So your brother's over here as well?
Yeah, we infiltrated a long time ago. Yeah.
You emigrated or something
No,
like that.
infiltrated.
Infiltrated is a better word. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot harder back then. If we'd done it like last year, we could have just walked in.
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that one. You know how fucking crazy things are right now.
It's
I had no idea you were living here. I don't know why I thought, and that's why I thought, well, I got to do this at 3 PM because it's going to be 9 o'clock his time over there.
No.
I had no, and you've been
All
here
good.
since the '80s, huh?
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Well, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Again, we've got the EP coming out. You want to give the details on that again, real quick?
That's Can't Take Away the Fire. Take a look online. Probably on our Facebook. Dig out for that. It's Official Raven or Instagram.
I have all that stuff in the description. I have all your links.
There's a link there. It's the best way to get it directly.
And if I'm
from
not
the link.
wrong, John, am I wrong about this? But you're only producing physical copies up to like 1,000 or something.
That's
like
right. Limited edition. Yeah, it's possible down the line we'll do vinyl, but for now it's just 1,000 copies. So get it while it's there. They're all autographed. I just finished the last of them, and they're going out tomorrow. All autographed, and like I say, 5 brand new songs, which will kill you. And there's 3 bonus live tracks. And because so you got a one from 2022, one from 1991, and one from 1984.
Yeah, so, right. Yeah,
and it's cool because you'll listen from the early all the way up to now and go, boy, those fuckers are still crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't get my thing back up, but there's the cover art. Great cover art too. Really cool cover art. Fun.
Yeah, and we're buried in the middle, very small. You can see us there. We're hiding in there.
Oh, I see you there. Yeah. Who did the artwork on that?
It's a guy called Maggot, and Mike came up with the concept and the design, and this guy, I believe, is a Czech guy, but one of the few art guys we've worked with who'll go, yeah, okay, I'll try that, and does what you tell him, which is nice.
Cool. My buddy Peter here, he's over in Ireland. I'm not exactly sure. I think he's in the Dublin area, but I could be wrong. He'll correct me. Maybe Belfast. He says you still retained your Geordie accent. There you go.
Who, me? Well, I try to speak as clear as possible because otherwise anyone would know what the hell I'm talking about,
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. You've been here 40 years plus, and you still got your accent pretty strong,
I never lost it. My brother had to because he was trapped down here with the Floridians pretty early on, and nobody could understand him at all. And his accent was a lot thicker than mine.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So he's coming back to the dark side. Whenever he's talking to me, he comes back to the dark side.
That's awesome, man. Oh, he's Belfast. Okay, sorry, man. I wasn't entirely sure, but if anybody's
we're working on it. Hopefully, Dublin for the first time and Belfast for the second time later this year. We're working on it. Let's see if we can make it.
There you go, Peter. Hopefully we get these guys over there. So, John, it's been a real pleasure meeting you, man. Real pleasure talking to you. Hopefully I brought some new stuff. Now, I think I have to admit, and I kind of did tell you early on that I've known about you guys forever, but I was never like deep in the Raven cult just because it was just I'm the squirrel guy, it's like, oh, there's a new band over there. Oh, there's another band over there. Oh, I got to check that band. Just kind of how it worked out. But after seeing you guys, it really sold me. I was like, man, these guys are just fucking great live. They're just a good time. And like I said, I met you and shook your hand and you just seemed like just a warm lovely guy, and I thought, I got to get this guy on here. I got to dig into the catalog a little bit.
Hey guys, that's what happens when you give somebody $20. They say all these lovely things about you. Thank you.
Was it only 20? I thought we made the deal for 40. I'm sorry.
God damn it.
Hey, hang on one sec there, John, if you could. Thanks everybody for joining. The only big thing to announce is this Friday night, 10:30. We're doing the Forgotten Metal Gems, 80 of the 80s and 90s. We got, God, who are we talking about? We're talking about Vane. We're talking about Hawk. We're going to be talking about, I don't know. Go look at the website. Go look at my thumbnail that we have all the bands listed on there. Oh, Heir Apparent. We're going to be talking about Heir Apparent. Great Seattle progressive metal band. So we're going to be doing that on Friday night. And then the Kate Bush deep dives coming up on the release date of your EP. We're going to be doing a Kate Bush deep dive here on the 15th. I'm sorry, 15th. So,
did you just say Kate Bush has an EP coming out?
No. Your EP, the same day.
Oh,
I thought it was on the 14th, but it's actually it's the day after on the 15th. Now, Kate, I don't know. Has Kate? I don't know if she's done anything for a while now. I mean,
no,
the box sets. She put the
She
box
comes
set.
out every 20 years and does something.
She doesn't have to.
We don't.
No, you guys keep it fresh and keep it moving.
We keep it fresh, baby.
All right, man. Everybody, thank you for being here today. I will tell you, sir, that for in the middle of the afternoon, we had 23 people watching. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever done an afternoon live stream where there's been 23 people that have joined in. So congrats on that. People love you.
That's a lot of $20 right there. Damn it.
A lot of $20. Yeah. All right, hang on one sec, John.